So I am here with Sir Willips Brightsley Moore, or at least that's what the name says. But no, it's comedian and writer and actor David Cross. And we have never met before. And so this is really cool for me. And I am a really big fan. So excuse me if I'm like that.
That's
so
right.
How are you?
Good. I'm trying to read what's in the back of your thing there.
Wait, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a whole bunch of, this was like one of those Kirkland things that I just picked up. And this is, I wish I could say it was special. It's just got a bunch of stuff.
Bunch of inspirational stuff?
Inspirational things.
Great.
Actually, this was hanging in my closet. And then when we set up this thing, I'm like, I need something that'll fit right there. And I'm using it for its size.
Today is a new day. All right.
Today is a new day. And it's a better day. So I was just watching, just so you know, Oh, Come On. I just watched that this morning.
Okay.
And it's just funny now that we're post the election because you obviously talked about Trump in that. But why don't you just, talk a little bit about what you're doing now? Is that the most recent thing that's out?
Yeah, that was from, gosh, I don't know. That was
Asheville.
2018, I think. Summer of 2018. I'm not.
Okay, so I didn't see it then. I saw it now, and it's still really funny. And even with the change in the election, it's still really funny.
Well, there's that whole thing about how will he? I don't remember the bit exactly, but trying to imagine how he will leave the White House.
Like kicking and screaming.
Yeah, oddly, relevant today, oddly. But yeah. So yeah, that was a while ago, and I was starting to do get another set together, but that stopped because of COVID. I tried to do a couple outdoor shows, but I wasn't able to do the work I needed to do to develop the material. So I guess I'm just gonna have to wait until we can all pack into hot, sweaty basements in Brooklyn again.
Is that so? You're East Coast?
Yes.
Because I clearly know you're not in Santa Monica now after watching that special. I know that you're not living there.
No, I'm not a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so for people who don't know, if you watch it, you need to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. That's how I saw it. It's called Oh, Come On. And there is a bit about that David does not care for Santa Monica.
Yeah. Well, it's just, my wife's from there. It kind of prefaced the piece about getting a colonic, which was all true.
Yes.
And it happened to be in Santa Monica. And it was just I guess anytime I find an organic, natural way to shit on LA, I do. And that was one way, because again, my wife is born and raised
my husband's from LA too. Yeah. So it's pretty
LA Santa Monica is pretty specific, a specific area,
So this is what this is something that I wanted to ask you. You were I'm very thankful that you were a supporter when we were running our campaign. Mm-hmm. But even before that happened, I remember, and I cannot remember what I was watching or where I saw you, what it was on, but you had something to say about my Congresswoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, at some point. Like you had something to say about her. And I remember making a mental note, that could be an ally at some point, because I knew that you were not pleased. Was that because you were a Bernie supporter? And you saw that happen? Yes.
I'm sure that there were things that I don't remember that didn't really mean much to me at the time, or were fairly insignificant until you get to the cumulative of what she did. But yeah, what really drew my attention to her was the DNC and Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's just very corporate, and she's, obviously we are trying to get the corporate money out of politics and return it to service, or at least that's our mission of this. And what are the issues that you see are the most important things that are going on right now, and what needs to change going forward from where we are?
Oh man, I mean, how long do you have?
Well, okay. We'll be specific. We could be more specific. What is the most imminent thing that you think that you see that needs to happen?
um, Perhaps it's not the most imminent, or if it is the most imminent, it goes hand in hand with pragmatism, which is we have got to uh, empower everyone's ability to vote. That the making sure everybody is able to vote. Um, Seamlessly, easily, without any problems, with no kind of modern version of a poll tax involved. Just you register, you make it as easy as possible for people to vote. I think, and I say that because there's not a doubt in my mind that the majority of Americans of voting age and or coming into voting age are left of center, and I believe
It's true.
I believe that if you got away with rolled back or reverse gerrymandering and redistricting, and making everybody, make the election a national holiday, whatever it is, more access to mail-in votes, whatever the thing is, and the things are, I should say, because there's more than one remedy to this. I think that's where you start. That's sort of. Once you are able to do that, I think the other things will fall in line a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree, and it's that, and also for us, the getting the corporate money out is a huge problem. I mean that it stifles the progressive side so much that it makes everything impossible to even get the messages out that we need to get out there.
And that's hand in hand with. I mean, I don't know how you. Now with this Supreme Court, I don't know how you reverse or amend Citizens United. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and so I don't know how that works. But that needs to happen if there's another. If we have to, just create another act in Congress. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
yes, I agree I agree that that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how to go about doing it either, which is why I tend to just say, let's just get as many people in there that don't take corporate money as possible, and hopefully you get enough people in there that those people will choose to do that because they believe in it in the first place. But I don't know that we're going to be able to get the people in there to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not keen on it because they've been suckling at that teat for a very long time, and they like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably, I'm going to assume you agree with me. I don't know, but and for a lot of people, I'm stating the obvious, but I do feel like our best chance at that and progressive ideas was Bernie Sanders, and I feel like I don't think that that's a coincidence that he got so much of a groundswell behind him, and then the media just turned almost within days of each other, and they all were unified with the same message, and enough people that thoughtlessly, or perhaps they knew exactly what they were doing, use language like socialism and equating socialism with communism, and just really ignorant things that worked for a lot of people, and the media is a massive problem in this country, and and I don't know. I don't feel very optimistic that Biden and then perhaps Harris and whoever comes whoever the next candidates are going to be of the same mind.
No, I mean, I feel like this is just merely hitting like a pause button, but it's certainly not. This is certainly not going to fix anything. It's certainly not going to help us, and it could potentially put us in a situation where we're ripe for another sort of narcissistic fascist type person to come up out of like the groundswell. I mean, like populism builds out of anger, and that is a concern if we go back to doing what created Trump in the first place.
Right. Yes.
So let me ask you, like, how do you, I mean, everybody contributes in their own way, and you definitely contribute, because I cannot tell you the amount of things that I have laughed about. And in fact, I have to pull something up that I put as a little teaser to that I was gonna talk to you. And this is one of the funniest things. Oh, I see why it won't come up. I am so challenged. Okay, but what this is, and I wish I could do it better, but I'm just so not capable right now.
It's a thrilling podcast.
It's what?
This is a thrilling podcast.
I know, it's very exciting. No, I have the hand, your hand holding the Tobias Funke analrapist card with the blue fingerprint on it. And I cannot tell you how long we laughed over analrapist. And to this day, that's so, like, when I think of you, that was one of the funniest bits. How was that for you? Was that as fun for you to do as it was to watch on Arrested Development?
The first 3 seasons and kind of the beginning of the 4th season were. The last season 5 was not fun at all, unfortunately. But when we were, those first 3 years were very special, and getting to work with that cast and the crew and the writers and Mitch Hurwitz was just a dream come true. That was a rare thing, and we all knew it. We were aware of how special and what a rare opportunity it is in this business. People go whole careers without ever getting the chance to do something like that. So we were all, I feel very lucky that I was able to do that.
It was great. It was very original, and it was very, there was something for everybody in that show, but there was not a single episode where I wasn't laughing out loud. Lou, don't do it. Don't do it, Lou. Sorry, talking to my dog who's getting ready to bark. Lou, don't do it.
Do it, Lou.
Don't do it. I'm gonna bust you up. So if you're not able to go around and obviously do live shows, what's the next best thing?
There is no next best thing for me, at least. I know other people have been doing these Zoom shows. I did a couple of them. And as I said earlier, I tried to do 2 outdoor shows, where everybody was spaced, and there was like plastic dividers between tables, and everybody had masks on, but it just wasn't the same thing. It'd be fine if I had the material. If I was doing like a solid, like I know it's worked on and it's really good, solid hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half, then outdoor would be fine. I was in the process of developing material, and I can't speak for everybody. Obviously, everybody has their own different approach, but mine is I start from nothing basically in some notes, and then I go up on stage and just spend a lot of time talking. I tape it and I go, oh, that worked. That's an interesting thought. I'll explore that. And then little by little, you kind of, craft it, as it were, and you whittle the fat away. And you don't whittle fat, really. You just whittle. You would carve the fat or whittle the extraneous wood. I'm going to go with because no, I'll say I mold it. But then you take that little blade thing that you have in pottery and sculpting. I don't know what's called, and then you take the excess.
Kind of like a little chisel.
A chisel, I think, is when it's solidified. If you're going from a big solid chunk of
Oh,
stone into nothing. Okay, so we've exhausted all those. Um, but yeah, so for me, I just need to get back into a room with a bunch of people, tape it, and I was actually getting to a point where I was very close to kind of what I call phase two, which is now I know exactly what I want to do. Now I've got to work on these bits, and there's I was getting very close to that. So it was a unfortunate timing to have to stop then. And the last set outside of the occasional, rooftop show and outdoor show I've done, the last like real set I did was, I want to say, like the very beginning of March, end of February, beginning of March, something like that. So,
yeah, that's kind of harsh when you're not able to sort of be doing what you want to be doing in the best possible way. I mean, that's a harsh thing. I mean, a lot of people are obviously dealing with that in different
sure.
lines of work.
Yeah.
But so what is the biggest thing you draw from? I mean, obviously family. You definitely draw from. I got that in the one you did, but that was when your baby was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, where do you find that you get the most things to work with in your material?
They usually just sort of occur to me. It's either something occurs to me, quite often randomly out of the blue. I'll be walking along or whatever, riding my bike or something, and then something occurs to me, or it's anecdotal. So I experience a thing and then I talk about it. And obviously my life has changed dramatically by having a child now, which the last special reflected some of that. And that I am very conscious though of not doing too much dad stuff. I really don't want to do that. But I have made some observations that I are funny. She's funny, and I'm not, and it's worthy subject matter. If I didn't think it was, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
So there's definitely that is a big, the bulk of my day is with my kid too, so.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, it sounds to me like you really like the writing aspect of what you do and the creating of what you do. And so how does that compare with doing, say a bit in Modern Family or, being in a movie, something like that?
They're completely different. That's apples and oranges. I mean, one is, you get to go do this funny scene with other funny people and you get to play in it, depending on the director and the kind of show, like you get to find these things and you get to do a character, which is arch or silly or has these certain mannerisms. Whereas when I'm doing stand up, that's just me having either a monologue or a dialogue with other people in the moment as me. And those are my thoughts, and you can be funny in different ways, but they're completely different things,
So what do you prefer?
I mean, they both have their pluses and minuses. I think if I lived in some very strange world where I was forced to choose one, I don't know what society has become. That's happened. But if I had to choose just one, it would be stand up.
Yeah, I figured you would say that. And I think that about a lot of people when when you can tell that someone loves what they do and that's their passion and that's what they're good at doing. And you see that I see it with musicians. I see it with comedians. You don't see it as much for me with actors because they're just playing a part of somebody else. It's not them. Lou, I'm telling you, Lou, cut it. So, it's just different. I feel like with comics and musicians, you're seeing a bit of them. You're seeing them in their work that they're putting out like an artist, whereas, playing a part is playing a part.
Yeah. And it's usually somebody else has written those words for you to say. So yeah, and when you're doing stand up or your music, you're expressing yourself and your ideals and what's important to you, and then yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's what's really amazing. But then, you get to do, I mean, I guess it's nice to just have the total variety. I mean, I'm trying to do that now with doing a little bit of everything and just trying to do that. But what do you think now going forward, now that we're getting rid of Trump? And I know that you sort of joked about that you're not really liking having him for material, like you would prefer to not have him for that material. So what going forward do you see happening now that we're getting rid of the occupant of the White House?
Well, I think it'll be a lot of. While I did have Trump material, it's there's actually less than you might imagine. Even though I've referenced him, it's a lot of it is about his fan base and the people that enabled that. So I'll continue to talk about that.
They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere, and they existed long before Trump was around. And it'll. I'm sure I will do more stuff about how weak and feckless Democrats are, and I would imagine that'll come into play at some point. And but who knows? I mean, I would be thrilled if things got, not that I think they will, but if things got better to the point where it's like, you know what, this really isn't, I don't want to do this for a half hour of my set, talk about, Biden and obstructionism and hopefully I won't feel the need to make those jokes, or they won't occur to me, because things won't be that bad.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. Here's hoping. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty awful and going to continue to be. Maybe I can make more jokes about the Republicans' reaction to Sandy Hook.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty pathetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stop it. Stop. You're laughing at me. I'm like,
Lou. It's Lou.
It's Lulu, and she's a fluffy little white thing that with a serious attitude. And
I can tell by the bark. I can't see her, but I can tell. Yeah, no, she's a fluffy little white thing.
She's fluffy. So I see you're in New York, and so obviously that's a safe blue state. Mm-hmm. And so what are your thoughts? I mean, you realize the Democrats are kind of feckless. I mean, I live in Florida, so if you even consider not getting in line, they'll hang you, it's just that you have to. But you have some options up there in terms of supporting non-feckless people.
Yeah, and I have a place in the woods in Sullivan County, and I changed my registration up there back in 2016, and I was able to be at least one vote in a very small, relatively small size county. It's very rural, a lot of farmland up there, and voted John Faso out and got Antonio Delgado in, who's fantastic, who I'm really happy with. I think he's a great guy, and he's done a lot of great work up there. And it's red. Sullivan County is red. It's changing. I've been up there for 13 years, and it's definitely changing. But driving around, the couple days ago, this is, I guess, would have been 3, 4, 5, 6 days before the election, and just driving around I take my daughter to the playground park. And she fell asleep, so I kept driving around in the car, and I started counting Trump to Biden signs, and it was, it was easily 9-1. For every 9 Trump signs, you saw a Biden sign.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I know that it's changing. I know that parts of I'm in a tiny little town, but it's definitely changing a little bit. Certainly changed from 13 years ago when I first moved up there, but. I was happy and proud, and still am, that I I did change. I got my wife to change her registration so she could vote up there, because our vote goes a little bit longer, further, means more, I suppose,
Yeah.
up there than in the city. But yeah, it's I go back and forth as to whether I'm happy that I live in a bubble or whether I need to get out of the bubble. But I think with a kid now, I'm very happy that I live in this very cool, progressive area, and I feel happy for her that she can be raised in in either Brooklyn or upstate, and with rational people.
Right. I mean, but it's interesting because I live in a very blue county. Broward is it's the bluest county in Florida.
Mm,
And I see more Trump signs than Biden signs. And
yeah,
that to me was very telling. So I knew a long time ago how it was going to go for Florida. People, the Democrats down here were very cautiously optimistic, but I'm thinking if I live in the bluest county and I'm seeing more Trump signs than Biden signs, that's not a good sign.
yeah.
It's a problem. So when you're up in the country or whatever, what do you have to do up there? Is there good stuff to do up there? Is it farm life? Are you on a farm?
I'm not on a farm, but there's a lot of farms nearby. I have a lot of friends up there. It's I have 5.5 acres. I got a pond that's got frogs and tadpoles, and salamanders, and all kinds of stuff in there, and there's all kinds of critters, and my daughter loves it, and my dog loves it. I love it. My wife, who's a writer as well. Both she and I, over the years, way before our daughter was born, and currently, have written a number of things up there. I wrote a movie that I wrote it there. It takes place there. I shot it there. I wrote a series. I was able to work on the series that took place in the UK, and I went and shot it in the UK. But I did all that work there. A comedy thing I did with John Benjamin, I wrote up there. It's a really great place to work for writing, at least. And my wife has finished numerous books and books of poetry up there, and other books. And so there's that. And then it's just beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's really remarkably cheap. All the food is amazing because the produce is coming from down the road, and it's along the Delaware River. So it's just a wonderful, great place to live, and my daughter loves it. And as I said, we have a lot of good friends up there. And I'll tell you another thing. One thing that I really appreciate about it is there, especially as Trump was rising in the Republican Party, and then became the nominee and then president. I was able to have. I don't think I had one. Maybe I can count on one hand. Maybe 2-3 times where I had real, loud, angry, yelling at each other kind of arguments that's started one way and they got really raucous about Trump versus Republicans versus Democrats, Trumps versus liberals, whatever the thing was. And you just don't find that in other parts of the country where I've traveled to. I mean, almost all the discussions I've had, I mean, talking like 100, going to the local sports bar or whatever, where I'm clearly, I'm the liberal and most people aren't, but all the conversations outside of a handful of them are civil and rational, and they kind of get emotional, and your voice raises, and you're telling people, well, that's not true, this is this thing, but never any bad vibe ever. I mean, it's I can't tell you why. Maybe it's because I'm in the minority, I don't know, but we were always able to have a human discussion. It was never like what's portrayed, like Antifa versus, the St. Louis couple with their guns pointed at. It was never like that ever. As heated as things, like everybody listened to each other, and so that's one
fascinating. It's fascinating.
It's one great thing about up there that I appreciate.
Did you spend any time in Asheville when you were there?
Well, because we shot there, we shot Oh Come On in Asheville, and so there were. I did 2 shows, and we had to do some tech stuff, and so I was there for 48 hours, which is
okay.
But I mean, on a tour, sometimes you finish the thing, you get on the bus, and you go to the next town. So I was able to walk around and hang out, in other words, and I loved it. I had never been there before, but great town. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm there every summer, and it's funny because I was there when you did that, but I don't recall that happening, and I don't know what I was doing at the time. But I'm there every summer.
Well, were you there? There was that huge storm that rolled through that blew out the town generator, basically.
I see. What month was that you did that show?
I think it was it August?
See, it might have been after I come back. That's the thing. Like, I remember that it was happening. I remember seeing your name, and I remember for whatever reason I couldn't go or I couldn't do it. And it might have been because it was right after I came back because school was starting or whatever it was.
Well, you would remember being there because the whole the power in the entire town. I mean, literally, all the power went out at about like 1 o'clock. There was a big storm that came through. Crazy.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there for that. That is crazy, but Asheville is just one of those places where you would not be in the minority, but yet you get such civil discourse amongst people, and you also get really good fresh produce. So it's like that when you were talking about where, upstate New York or wherever, that's what it reminds me. I'm a mountain person stuck in a beach town. So that's just the story of my life.
Well, I grew up in Georgia. I'm from Atlanta or Roswell. But so Asheville, there's a familiarity to Asheville and the things that I like, about the South that are unique to the South.
You don't come off like a Southerner. You don't seem like a Southerner.
Yeah, I think that's in part because like I was born there, and then I lived in a couple places in Florida until I was 5, and then I lived in 2 places in Connecticut and 3 places in New York before I moved back to Georgia when I was 9. And I think in that brief period where I was in New York and Connecticut and then moved back to Georgia, I was very, I fought it. I fought any accent. I fought to my own detriment. I was like, I'm not going to eat barbecue, and now I love barbecue and always did. But I was like, but then I found myself, with those red puffy vests, dipping, either Skull or Copenhagen, or getting some chew, getting some what was it called, Red Man or whatever, and that I was doing that. So, but I fought it a bit. Yeah. But my family's still there. I'm there. I mean, I just work there too, but I'm there pretty much 3, 4, 5 times a year, every year. So
Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up as a Jew in South Florida, it was like in the summertime, if your family had any means whatsoever, and I mean any means, because I didn't come from anything, but like they would all scrape together. You went to summer camp in Georgia or North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And it was sort of like the rule. It was
why not Florida?
Well, it's just so hot. I mean, you want to get out of here in the summer.
So you go to Georgia?
You go to the mountains. They go to the mountains.
Oh, I see. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So that's where all the summer camps are. Either, right, you've got Blue Ridges in Georgia, and then you've got Blue Star and all the camps in North Carolina. It's just what the tribe did here.
Yeah. I'm not aware.
Yeah, no, that's what happened. But so what's next if we get out of this pandemic? You will go back to doing your stand-up. Do you have any other stuff that you have planned coming out?
Yeah, actually today, I did a movie called The Dark Divide last year, which if you go to darkdividefilm.com, you will be able to access where you can access it. I believe starting today. It was in theaters for a while, oddly enough, here in Canada. Now it's doing now it's international, but it's on, those, I'm not exactly sure, but those video on demand streaming platforms, like Apple and Amazon and things like that. You can find it if you go to darkdividefilm.com, and it's really good. It's a really it's unlike anything I've ever done. It's basically
It sounds serious.
It is serious. It's based on a real person, based on his book of this real person who I portray, and he's this kind of shy, introverted, just not a very proactive man whose wife, who's the exact opposite of him, very social and proactive and daring. She dies of cancer. This all happens in the first few minutes. I'm not giving anything. It's not a spoiler.
Right, you're not ruining the movie.
No, I'm not. It's something going into it, basically. But and then he goes on this journey through the Dark Divide, which is a real stretch. It's what they call the Gifford Pinchot National Forest in the Pacific Northwest, and it's uncharted and it's still wild. And this all took place in 1995 when the movie takes place, and he almost dies and all kinds of things happen to him. And it's a real crazy, arduous trek he goes on, very completely unprepared, very over and way over his head. But, comes out of it a much different person. And it's, visually it's stunning. It's beautiful because we shot in the real locations, and it was easily the most grueling, hardest thing I've ever done. The movie just beat the shit out of me, but it's getting really good reviews and people are really digging it. And I think especially because we're about to be locked in again, and it's a nice little, respite for 90 minutes to get away from all the horrors of the world and just go into the woods with this guy and follow him. And I'm proud of it. It's a pretty beautiful little movie.
Is that the first time you've played a real person?
No. I was in The Post, the Spielberg movie, and I played Howard Simmons. And I played Allen Ginsberg, and I played Allen Ginsberg's father, oddly enough, Louis Ginsberg, in a completely different movie. And
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was
random.
Odd. Yeah. And then I just got through shooting the Aretha Franklin Genius series, and I played Jerry Wexler.
Oh, cool.
Her real producer.
All right, I'll definitely see that because I'm a big fan of the Queen. So that's
so I think that'll be out next year. I don't think that's going to be out for a little while. But,
right. The Divide, Dark Divide.
The Dark Divide.
The Dark Divide, and so that's cool. And who is that person? Who is?
I'm sorry, Robert Pyle, Professor Robert Pyle, and after that journey, he became a renowned writer, but not overnight. He wrote about that journey, and then that became successful in that world. And then he started writing more nature books and books of poetry. And he's a lepidopterist, but he shifted into being like a major full-time writer after that. And now he's written, over a dozen books, I think.
But this movie you're starring in this movie. Like, it's his story.
Yeah, it's his story, and I play him. I play Robert Pyle.
Right. So that's a big, that's a pretty big deal to be the star in a movie that's about a real person.
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet him?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, he's the nicest, sweetest guy in the world. Just the nicest, kindest guy.
And was he pleased? Was he pleased with how it came out?
He was very pleased. He was. I know it was hard for him to watch
Yeah.
scenes where his wife, who's a real person, was struggling with cancer and then, succumbs to it. So that was difficult for him. But yeah, he was. Yeah, it must be a trip to watch somebody play you.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and people say that it's always like the best compliment when the person really likes it and feels that it's authentic that you're doing it.
And he was the writer director, Tom Putnam, worked with Robert. He read the book. He was given the book like 10 years ago, and then he was from that area and he fell in love with it and he optioned the book, and then he met with Robert Pyle after he wrote some scripts and said, I'm thinking of doing this, and so they became very close during the process as well. Started going back way back.
Right. And then how does somebody like you get into some sort of project like that? Like, I wouldn't necessarily think that, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be my first connection.
Well, I mean, at some point, that's a question for the writer director, but at some point he thought of me, and I don't really physically resemble Robert either. Bob is much bigger than I am. He's a big guy. I'm 5'9". He's got to be like, he's got to be like 6'4", and he's big. He's he's Santa Claus, basically. The only thing similar was the beard. I grew my beard out. It's crazy. If you see the movie, you'll see it. That's all. That's not hair and makeup. That's my beard. But
right. This isn't just a coronavirus. This isn't just a coronavirus thing.
Massive. This is left over from the Jerry Wexler thing. I just wrapped that a couple. Whatever.
But you liked it, right? You had it in the special. You had.
I did. Yeah, I did. But I've never this is like twice as bushy as the special was. This is like nuts, being lost in the woods for 6 weeks. Crazy.
I like it, but how does the wife feel?
I think she's happy I got a trim. She's happy it got cut down. She's quite happy. She prefers it. Yes.
So, last question, really, like, what are the causes that the things that you support that you would want to promote or put out there? Like, are there any specific causes that are important to you?
There are organizations, the DSA. I'm a member of the DSA. There are so many. I don't have pet causes anymore.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Like, because a lot of times there's something that you would want to say, hey, I have this foundation or this, promote whatever.
I used to. Going, 4 or 5 years ago, I had my top 3 that I always donated money to every year, and now there's so many of them, and I always go through Charity Navigator, Charity, make sure that it's they're on the level, and but there's so many.
Yeah. We have a good DSA. Our Miami DSA is active. We don't really have something right now where I am, and I think somebody's working on it, but everything happens here slower than it happens in other places. So Florida will probably be the last place to have a very good active DSA.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
You think Wyoming will be a little sooner than Florida?
Do you think? Well, I don't know. Is that like Dick Cheney's pet project out there? Is creating a DSA?
Yeah.
What's funny is, of all the contributions that I got when I was running for Congress, I got from every single state in the country except Wyoming. And I always was joking that I think it's Dick Cheney. I think that he's working against me or something.
Yeah.
Because I got Alaska and Hawaii, and I even got West Virginia. Like, I got everywhere but Wyoming.
Interesting. Yeah.
Have you been to Wyoming?
I have. I've because of stand-up, I've been everywhere. And I don't remember a Wyoming show. It
would probably be the most homogeneous room you've ever been in.
No, that would have been North Dakota.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
but those are really close.
Yeah, that's a place I won't play again. Florida, I will not. Yeah, I will. I will not do any more shows in Florida. I
Why?
had said
Well,
I
you
had
know what?
said that.
Dare I ask why? Like how
Florida?
Florida's embarrassing. Yeah.
Oh, the shows I've done shows there before, and then at some point I was like, "Fuck Florida! I'm not going back down there. These shows suck." And then after like I don't know 3 tours, I was like, "You know what? I'll do Florida again." And my mom is friends there. It's like, "Oh, you should do whatever." And I was like, "Okay, we'll throw it on the And I did not on this last tour, but on Make America Great Again. That tour from 2 years in 2016. And I did, let's see, what did I do? I did Tampa, Orlando, and I don't remember the other place. Maybe Fort Lauderdale. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but they all sucked and they all got worse. Every show got worse than the.
Why? In what way? Was it the people?
Oh yeah,
Was
the people.
But and were they just rude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun. It wasn't like I've done rowdy shows. I mean, I've done a million of them, and those can be kind of fun. But these were like next level, just asshole yelling, like really, mostly at the Trump stuff, the anti-Trump stuff, but just drunk and yelling and like that's I mean, I'm a grown man. I don't have to. I don't have to go to Florida. So
no,
yeah,
of course
fuck it. I'm not going to Florida anymore.
That's just it makes me cringe just a little bit. It's a little sad for us. So there you go.
I might try Gainesville if I can swing in. Next time I do a tour, I'll do Atlanta, then I'll go down to Savannah, and maybe I'll swing to Gainesville before I go back up to Birmingham. Maybe
yeah, you would get a good crowd. You would get a good crowd because of the university. I mean,
I think that'd be good.
But there you have it, Florida. We are losing valuable comedic assets due to our assholedness. This is not a good thing.
I am not the only one, but by far, I'm not the only.
Oh God! Like so, in other words, we're on the blacklist, is what you're saying.
I've talked to a number of comics, and they're like, "Oh yeah, fuck that. I'm not going down." I think part of it is because you have to make a special effort to get to Florida.
Yeah, it's out of the way. It's definitely out of the way.
And so I know a ton of people are like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not going down there.
This is so great. So now we know not only do we suck, but now people all know that we suck and they're not coming here anymore. That's just
it's been like that for a while.
Oh, sorry. All right. Now I feel even more sad. And last thing I'm going to tell you is to my son, you are the chicken man. I'm just letting you know that you are the chicken man. You know why, right?
The chicken pot pie? No,
he remembers you from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Ah, okay.
It was like a chicken suit. There was a chicken suit. These are the things. These are the things that stand out to children, right? So when I was trying to tell him, I'm like, okay, this is who I'm talking with, and I'm like, the man in the chicken suit. Oh
yeah. Sure.
But I appreciate it so much for you coming on my sad little podcast where we're really working hard to try to just get awareness to bridge this gap from politics and bring it back to service. And just the more attention we can bring.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you, and more power to you, and good luck with everything, Jen.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And have a good one. Hopefully you'll be out there doing this again soon.
All right. I'll see you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was really cool. Very interesting, I might add. And I would like to say that David was really very normal. He was just very normal. And that's cool. And I like that. And hopefully you all like it too. And don't forget, check out his new movie. It's called The Dark Divide.